So, hello, April. Thank you very much for agreeing to meet with me for this short interview. Um, you have been a client of mine for the 8-week program from self doubt to self confidence that you have finished over 2 months ago. And we have still decided to continue working together, which I'm really, really thankful for because you are just a delightful person to work with. And I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
What maybe from the beginning, like, can you tell us shortly something about yourself, so who you are or what you do?
So I'm in the first place a mom. I have a 3-year-old son. Professionally, I'm a veterinary geneticist. I work in a research laboratory. I grew up in New York City, but I currently live between Slovakia and the Czech Republic. And I lived in some 9 countries along the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you are a runner.
Yes, very avid runner.
Okay, amazing, amazing. Um, my first question would be, what made you decide to enroll in the program? What was it that got you thinking like you would like to be a part of a coaching program?
Well, I had just finished veterinary school, which I had my son in the middle of vet school, which was a very difficult thing to do. I sat my first exam back when he was 6 weeks old. Uh, and it was a really big strain to balance being a mom, and especially a mom during the pandemic, and also finishing my studies. I was invited at the end of that to join the laboratory where I did my research as a PhD candidate, which is a really exciting opportunity. I really wanted to make sure that I didn't slide back into what I'd been doing in vet school, which was just too much work and too much pressure to be at home, which I really wanted to be home with my son, don't get me wrong, but there's 24 hours in a day and I was just doing way too much. And it felt like this transition to a new position professionally was a really good time to examine how I was making decisions and what I could do to try to make sure that I wasn't spread so thin going forward. So it just seemed like it was the right time to do a little bit of work on myself and try to improve things when everything was already changing anyway, and it seemed like it would be easier to make other changes as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And when you look back at those 8 weeks that we spent together, and when you were going through the positive intelligence program, and
Mhm.
we were meeting every week, what what changes have you noticed on your life and on your relationships, on your work, and also with your son? If you could speak to that a bit.
Mhm. Um, I think this thing that stands out for me the most is the changes in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting because that wasn't really what I was thinking about going into it. But I've been able to catch myself when I get into certain patterns of thought and step back and realize, oh, I'm judging this person, I'm judging myself, and in ways that are not fair to either of us. And then to change that train of thought to something that's more positive. So that's been probably the biggest thing that I've noticed. And of course, anyone who's dealt with a toddler knows they know how to push your buttons. So it's really good sometimes to be able to take a step back with him, especially, and just realize that he's 3. He doesn't mean anything by any of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you were working during that coaching program. You were working. You were a mom. You were running, and I know you run like, I don't know, 5 times a week at least, or five or 6 times a week.
I think somewhere next week it'll be 100 days since I took a day off. So pretty much
Yeah,
7 days a week, but I love it. So
yeah, 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 yeah. I know it's a healthy addiction of yours and of mine too.
yeah.
But the thing that strikes me really is like your life is so full, and have been so full, and yet you manage to find time to go through this program. There are weekly 1 hour videos. There are like the PQ reps and everything,
Mhm.
every day. 50, it's only 15 minutes a day, but still you have to find the time and attention, and like
Mhm.
stop in the middle of the day and like do the PQ reps, or you know, find yourself here and now. How did you manage to do that?
It wasn't nearly as difficult as I thought it would be. It's a 1 hour video, but it's broken up into chunks that are, usually 8 or 10 minutes. So I think it's hard to find an hour or half an hour, but it's really easy to find 8 minutes for PQ reps, 2 minutes. I mean, you have 2 minutes. I'm go to the bathroom, take your phone with you. You've got 2 minutes while, before you go back to the lab, whatever. It's or I have to wait for a beaker to cool. I've got 5 minutes. So it really wasn't that difficult when you start to think about, well, where am I going to grab 2 minutes? You've got so many places in your day where you have 2 minutes of downtime or 5 minutes of downtime. So there were very few times I really had to think about scheduling in a larger chunk of time. It was more just a matter of making sure that I grabbed those little bits of time in my day that I wasn't really using for anything else.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But still, I know you say it like it's easy. It was easy, but you probably put it as your priority, and you really stuck to it, and you decided to stick to it and do it.
Yeah, well, once I decide I'm going to do something, I commit to it and I do it.
So I hear, and you already know that there is a bit of that saboteur voice that is driving you towards the results. So could you speak a bit about those saboteurs? What work have you noticed on yourself, like with the judge and with some of your top saboteurs? Like, uh, what has this program done to you in terms of your thought but tendencies, and how you perceive your mind now?
It's definitely helped me to identify more quickly
Mhm.
uh, where I start to uh, think in patterns or have these saboteurs that are just not helpful in the situation. Um, and the trick then is really to help the self command to stop and put it aside and do something else. And where I am now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's getting better, but there's a lot of work left to do before uh, I'll really be able to do it as frequently and as consistently as I would like to. But I think the first step is just knowing that you're into a thought process that is not going to lead to anything productive. So no point in letting that continue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, you participated in those one-to-one coachings with me during the program. Could you maybe tell us what was what value did you find there?
That was one of the most, I think, for me, rewarding or useful parts of the program, because I think I sort a lot of things out as I talk through them. I have my thoughts in my head all day long talking to myself, but really when you talk to someone else and they kind of reflect back to you what you're saying, um, it sort of allows me to take those thoughts further and to cement the things in the program, or to make realizations about them that I hadn't uh, really gotten to. And one thing I remember was I had this realization in the program that I think of myself as, being kind of strictly doing the things that I'm supposed to. Uh, Mainly because I'm an academic and I was a good student and I was a very good athlete when I was younger. So I've sort of ticked the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that just kind of happened incidentally because I was pursuing things that were meaningful to me. And I've also done all these weird things like move all over the world and work in disaster response, and things that are not at all typical. And that actually being a free spirit is a very big part of who I am, and that I'm not following a set of rules that I've been told to follow. I'm really following my own, let's say, my own compass or my own map. And I had that realization during the week. And it was this aha moment. And then I almost forgot it until we were in the middle of a coaching session. And it was when we talked about it that I really kind of cemented it and made me realize that that was such an important part of who I am that affects so many of my decisions. And somehow I made it all these years without really thinking about it as part of myself, or realizing that was this huge piece of me.
I remember that moment. It was so, I still have it in my memory. It's so vivid and so precious because I was there. So I feel like a part of it.
Well, you were.
Yes. My work is to help you bring the pieces that are not so visible from the unconscious mind to the conscious mind. So yeah, we were there both. Yeah. So thank you very much for bringing this up, and thank you for all your words of appreciation. Maybe one last question. Would you recommend this program to anyone, and if so, like, to who in your opinion is this program for?
I think the program is for anyone who's really ready to make a change in themselves. It's a great program. I think it can help anyone as long as you're ready to take that responsibility on yourself, that you're the one in charge of what thoughts are and aren't in your head. I mean, we discussed saboteurs like they're not really us, but you can't ask your partner or your coach or your friend or whomever to deal with that for you. You're gonna have to do it yourself, and that means you're also you're responsible for what's in your headspace, and you have to be ready to take on the work to do that, and have the willingness to really examine yourself and be honest about parts of yourself that you really like, and things that you're doing that you don't like as much. Let's say maybe not parts of yourself, although I think habits you've picked up over the years and so on. So I do think you need to be open to doing that work.
Yeah.
But if you're ready to do that, then I think it's a really great place to start. And I'm only really at the beginning, so.
Yeah, once we started, so there is no going back.
True. No, really not.
When we know all that about our mind, how it sabotages us, and how we can live better with flow and with joy and with ease, then it's easier to continue when we know what's possible for us, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you so much, April, for your time.
No problem.
All the best. Keep up the great work. And
Thank
I'm looking
you.
forward to seeing you soon.